everybody, welcome to the Empressive channel. The former NBA player Kwame Brown put the radio host Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy on blast after they reported on his family on The Breakfast Club. Now, Kwame has been making a lot of headlines lately for responding to all of his critics, and I'll give you all a brief backstory on that. Now, Kwame started off as a great basketball player in high school, but when he got drafted into the NBA, things changed. Unfortunately, he took a lot of flack from sports fans because he did not live up to their expectations. Now, mind you, Kwame got drafted right out of high school, so he really didn't get a chance to mature, and I think the pressure of playing in the NBA really affected his confidence and his performance. Because of this, he didn't perform well, and he was pretty much labeled as a bust. After his disappointing NBA career, Kwame remained pretty low-key for years. But recently, he started making a lot of headlines when Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, and Gilbert Arenas started having conversations about him on Matt and Steven's popular podcast called All the Smoke. Kwame came out and started defending his name and going off on all the critics, as he should. Now, Charlamagne the God reported on Kwame, and instead of highlighting Kwame's points, he brought up the criminal history of Kwame's father and his brother, and he used that as a way to make Kwame seem like he's violent. So when Kwame heard this, he came back swinging at Charlamagne, and he brought up Charlamagne's dirty history. Now, for those who don't know, a woman named Jessica Reed came out and said Charlamagne took advantage of her when she was 15 years old. And she did a whole interview with Choke No Joke and the Star Report, and she went into detail about what happened. And it's very sick if you listen to the details. Charlamagne took a plea deal to reduce his sentence. He pled to a lesser charge, and all of this is documented. But the reason why he got off is because Jessica was uncooperative. Her mother felt like the situation was too traumatizing for her to deal with at the time, so unfortunately, she never got a chance to testify and get her justice. But now the story is starting to resurface again because Kwame brought it up. When Charlamagne brought up his family crimes, Kwame brought up Charlamagne's crimes. Kwame also called out DJ Envy and alluded to him having a child outside of his marriage. Now, I don't know that story to be true, so I'm gonna say allegedly, but Kwame wasn't playing no games with Charlamagne and DJ Envy. This is what he said.
So Charlamagne the God, you want to talk as if you know me because, like I say, you part of that Buffole too. You like Steven Jackson and Becky with the good hair. Y'all probably be at them same parties. So, this Charlamagne the God, rape case guy. We're gonna name you got away with it. So because I called two gentlemen that you can clearly hear on your podcast that they tapped somebody and said only one person was part of the trade. You mean to tell me you gonna purport the story the way that you see fit? You want to talk about a brother that I never met, that my father had children outside of his marriage, just like DJ Envy cheating? So I'm wrong because my father had a son at the time that I never met. So you're going to put out to the world that like I'm some killer. When I asked these gentlemen and they said they was joking. So now it's time to light your little ass up too. We're going to find that girl you punk, allegedly. Matter of fact, we ain't got to say alleged because you on the docket. So we going to talk about you. Since you punk ass beta males that's on the Breakfast Club, DJ Envy, no neck having punk weasel ass, you just like the rest of them lying all the goddamn time. And Charlamagne, you shut your punk ass up, nigga. Cause since when words became violent, y'all talking about somebody violent cause they talking. They ain't violent when they saying they gonna come to LA, Atlanta. They not violent, I'm the violent one. That's the message y'all wanna put out. My daddy go to jail, so it's my fault. See how y'all wanna tell the story? See people? See how they wanna tell the story? A rose that grew through the cement, I don't got nothing to do with what my daddy did. I got my own hands, my own arms, and my own brain. And you got your own body and your own people that allegedly you used to rape a girl, you punk bitch. And you so protected, you bald head, weasel face, bleach face motherfucker. that nobody taking you off air for rapping the girl, but you get up on camera talking about protect all women, and now a man finally calling your ass out. Now I'm violent from my truck.
Listen, I mean, did he lie though? See, this is why people have to stop playing with Kwame, because Kwame has been picked on for so long and he's tired. He's tired of people criticizing him, going after him, and he's speaking up for himself like he should. And it's crazy because Charlamagne sent Kwame a cease and desist after he put him on blast. So it's crazy that Charlamagne feels like he could bring up other people's dirt, but the minute somebody brings up his alleged dirt, all of a sudden he wants to run to his lawyers and shut the story down. I think that's very cowardly. But it doesn't matter how many times Charlamagne tries to shut this story down, it's gonna haunt him for the rest of his life. Anyway, on to the next topic. I know I'm a little late with this story, but I still want to talk about it. Let's talk about Joe Budden. Earlier this week, Joe Budden issued an apology to his former co-hosts Mal and Rory, and he also apologized to the DJ Olivia Dope after she accused him of harassment. And I think Joe apologized because he was humbled behind the scenes. Now, for those who don't know the story, I'm going to break it all down. Joe Budden, for those who don't know, used to be a rapper, and now he has a popular podcast called the Joe Budden Podcast. And Joe actually had two co-hosts named Mal and Rory. Mal used to be Joe's very good friend. They were friends for a long time. And also Rory was Joe's industry friend. So Joe thought it would be a good idea to invite his friends on because he felt like they added something to his podcast. When Rory and Mal came on the show around 2015, the show began to grow in numbers, and I have to credit Joe because Joe is the reason for the success of the show. He was the one who created it, and he was the reason why people wanted to watch. However, the show did start to grow in popularity when Mal and Rory came on. Even though they weren't the stars of the show, they complemented Joe's personality very well, and the listeners liked the chemistry. Now, things started to take a turn between Joe, Mal, and Rory when they started getting major deals. Anytime the conversation of business came up, it was always an issue. And Joe kind of made it seem like Mal and Rory were his workers, but Mal and Rory revealed that they were actually his profit partners. They weren't on a fixed salary and they weren't his employees. They were actually his business partners. In their contract, they get a certain percentage of the money that's coming in. So it was completely logical for them to have questions about the business. They had every right to know about the deals coming in because they were getting paid based off of how much money was coming from those deals. Joe, however, was always very agitated when Rory and Mal would ask questions about the business. He would get very upset because he felt like it wasn't their place to ask him anything. And this is really the root of their issues. There was a lack of respect and too much ego. And I personally feel like Joe's ego swelled up to the point where he felt like he shouldn't be questioned because he is the star and creator of the show. But he was the one who decided to go into business with his friends. And his friends should feel comfortable enough to ask him simple questions about the accounting without being met with so much hostility. It should never get to a point where simple conversations turn left. But that's exactly what happened.
The conclusion of this entire thing was me going, yo, so what is that? And then met with crazy anger. That's what this we could chop this entire thing down to that.
That's all this shit is about. We asked to see the accounting because we have a profit agreement. We have a percentage-based agreement with each other.
I never did it maliciously, never did it with accusations, never insinuated anything.
They only say that because they don't even want to be questioned about the accounting.
If I ask the simple fucking question of, hey, let me see the accounting, because it's also supposed to be there quarterly by law. And
that's another thing. You're supposed to, we're supposed to get accounting quarterly. This isn't something that just happened last month or March. Like, we were trying to just get some type of accounting since 2019 maybe. And it's like every time it came to talk about accounting or business, it was always, some negative energy coming from him.
I asked always the simplest questions ever. This narrative of me being this difficult person or this person wilding out. I also have those emails that everyone speaks about where I'm being difficult.
There are emails of Rory questioning everything. Sorry, buddy, you don't get to question me. Not because I'm arrogant and egotistical, but because we negotiated and there's a contract that says I have final say in all of this shit. You can ask whatever you want, but there's nothing you can do about anything. If they know what the contracts say and they know that they overpaid and they are doing math and doing all the shit you need to do, then what do you think is wrong?
Yeah, we just wanted the accounting. And I from what I remember in 2019 when we finally got it, there was a quote unquote $400 and something thousand mistake.
I find something immediately. And I don't get disrespectful because I understand people make mistakes, and nor do I think people are stealing. So I send that back. I say, hey, this appears to be a mistake. If I'm wrong, let me know. They come back and say, this big accounting company, which I will not say, said, you're right. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
We were wrong.
So Mal and Rory revealed that there was around a $400,000 mistake. So you understand why they had questions about the accounts. If they didn't ask questions, they wouldn't know anything, and they would miss out on the money they were owed. It's not like Rory and Mal were greedy or money hungry. They even offered to give up their paycheck to help pay the production team. So they were never money hungry. They just wanted to know what was going on. But see, Joe didn't think that they were being curious. He thought they were being suspicious of him. So this situation turned into this whole messy fallout. And Joe put a lot of narratives out there about Mal and Rory. He pretty much said that they weren't pulling their own weight and they were ungrateful with all the money he was giving them. And he also claimed that they were mad at his relationship with DJ Academics. He was trying to spin all types of narratives. But from an outsider looking in, I could see that there was a lot of ego and a lack of respect coming from Joe's end. He got to a point where he stopped treating Mal and Rory like his friends. He stopped treating them like his business partners, but he started treating them like his workers. And I believe his ego flared up to the point where he felt like he no longer needed them. And truthfully, Joe doesn't really need them, but that doesn't mean that he can't respect his friends and his business partners. Now, I'm going to talk about what led up to Mal and Rory leaving the podcast. Joe first suspended Rory, and when Mal tried to have a conversation about his decision, Joe told him that it was none of his business, and that offended Mal. So Mal decided to take a break from the show. During that period, all three of them decided that they should cool off and settle their differences behind the scenes before going on camera again. However, Joe put his other plan into action by bringing on two other co-hosts named Ice and Ish, and that was kind of his way of testing the waters. He saw that Rory and Mal can be replaced, and that's exactly what he did. He replaced them. Now, Rory, Mal, and Joe tried to patch things up, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. And Joe ended up firing Rory on air, and he also put Mal on blast too.
I went and did that accounting, and my resentment grew and grew and grew. I got angrier and angrier. Because the story that it paints, if Joe's about money, I'd have got rid of these niggas ages ago. I'm a lot richer without him. Rory, you are in breach of your contract, and from this point forward, you are fired, and you're not welcome back. Mal, I'm the person that has to say that. The gall of you to think that I have to come to you about a problem I have with another man. We have things sorely mistaken around here. Rory and Mal can go start a podcast. Well, no, they can't. Not at least for another year. By contract. If they do, I'm going to sue the pants off of them.
Fam, I'm never taking my niggas to court. And the first thing you say is, if y'all try to start a podcast, I'm suing the pants off of y'all. Who are you, my nigga?
At that point,
who did you just turn into? I know that that's what you always wanted. You wanted to move me and Rory out. You was going to try to wait till our contract was over. because you know I wasn't going for no salary contract. Rory's already told you he wasn't. But then now you could bring in 2 other people that's gonna have to roll with the salary contract because they didn't build this show. But please don't try.
Also said that he could get both them for the price of half of one of us.
Of course he can.
No, he said that to me though.
Of course he can. That's what he wants. Yeah. He doesn't want to have to pay the money that he would have to pay.
So Rory and Mal revealed a lot in that sit-down conversation, and Joe even had to admit that they were being honest. Joe also retracted his statement and said that he wasn't going to sue them over starting a podcast.
I appreciate those guys. They were very honest about everything that they've been saying to me behind the scenes, man. They were really, really honest. They were. Joe's not suing nobody. I encourage anybody that want to go out there and start their own pod.
After Joe said this, Rory and Mal hinted at starting their own podcast. And I think it's a smart move on their part, and I hope it does well. Now let's talk about the Olivia Dope situation, because this is what really got Joe into some heat. Olivia used to be a part of the podcast under Joe's network called See the Thing Is, which is also hosted by Mandy B and Bridget Kelly. Olivia discussed a very uncomfortable incident she had with Joe Budden on that podcast. Joe appeared on one of the episodes, and he made very crude and creepy comments about her. His behavior was very disrespectful, and it caused Olivia to actually quit the show.
On January 18th, 2021, Joe Budden sat in on a recording of the female-led podcast I was a part of and continuously made sexual suggestive remarks to me that made me extremely uncomfortable, as well as fearful of dampening the mood if I didn't laugh along while he made those sexual remarks to me. He goes down the line to give everyone their accolades. And then once he gets to me, the scene is edited again because he says, Olivia is unique because I want to fuck Olivia and the fans love her. That scene is edited out. Those words are edited out. If you're going to work and your intention is just to go in and do your job, it should be just that.
It's really sad that Olivia had to go through that. I hope she never experiences anything like that again. No woman should be harassed like that at the workplace. I think that's totally unacceptable. After Olivia spoke out about her experience with Joe, things started to really shake for him. Joe had to apologize, and it was rumored that Joe apologized because he got dropped by Cash App. Now, I don't know whether or not that's true, but I did notice the Cash App icon wasn't visible on his latest podcast. So whatever the case is, I'm pretty sure he got some serious heat behind the scenes. So this is why Joe decided to humble himself on camera, and he took accountability for his actions towards Olivia and Mal and Rory.
Me, Joe Budden, along with the Joe Budden Network, owe Olivia Dope an apology. We issued one, but she needs to hear it with my voice. On a podcast, on a podcast, there was an inappropriate joke made, an ill-timed joke made, a poor attempt at humor made at a time when it shouldn't have been made. And unfortunately, me and the entire room of people missed that. We failed you. We failed you. We not only failed, failed Olivia, Bridget, Mandy, all of the women that work at the network. It's our job as men to just make the space as comfortable as possible at all times. And when that doesn't happen, I have to take full responsibility for it. I watched Marissa, I watched Mal and Rory, and then I watched all of the slander that began to come about, right? I watched the headlines come from Kevin Hart. Oh my God.
To see you publicly shit on the guys that was with you, that's an example of poor leadership. That's an example of why you are where you are. You want to be by yourself. You want to be King Dingaling.
Oh.
You can't do that. I also don't like the firing on air.
The more I listen to Kevin Hart talk, and the more I read Anthony Salad's tweet,
is the more I realized that all of the things that I had been saying to other people actually applied to me. And that's what happened. And for these gentlemen to be my friends at one point, and for us to hang out so much at one point, and to talk so much at one point, for these things to be misunderstood, nobody has to wear that but me. That's me. I can't be mad at nothing they say from the hurt and anger side of things, because what part did I play in putting it there? None of that matters. You had one common goal, which was to get your team somewhere, and you didn't do it. You failed.
Now, when I heard Joe take accountability for his actions, I kind of felt like he did it for damage control. I want to believe that his apology was sincere, but at the same time, I know he did it to save face. But I believe Joe had to be humbled in this situation. Pride is a dangerous thing, and pride always comes before the fall. And I hope he really does make some changes in his behavior, because if he doesn't, the whole ship that he built will sink. Anyway, tell me what you all think about this video down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.